However, one thing has not changed since 2014 till date, and that is the demeanor of the Supreme Court. India has moved on since 2014. People have voted in for two successive terms a government which is proactive to the needs of the citizens and hence the nation. By every yardstick of progress, we are marching ahead towards becoming a member of the top few nations of the world. Such has been the pace of our development that many leading financial institutions and financial futurologists have unhesitatingly started endorsing the stand that the coming decades are going to be India's. However, one thing has not changed since 2014 till date, and that is the demeanor of the Supreme Court. Its behavior is reflective from a pre-2014 era where weak governments were the norm, and the milords perhaps like to believe that they through their interventions were providing governance. Today, our executive, thanks to the people of India, is strong and decisive. Yet, the Supreme Court, through its actions, is triggering an executive versus judicial activism conflict. The Supreme Court's suo motu actions and remarks in the case of Manipur violence 2 to 3 months after the fact, when the government is already alert and in deep action mode, gives the impression of strengthening the hands of perpetrators instead of providing succor to the victims. Also, Delhi, which is essentially a union territory despite Arvind Kejriwal's continual provocative politics of claims and demands on the centre, the Supreme Court has waded right into this engineered mess, trying to appropriate powers of the executive by saying that they will decide appointment of the Delhi Electricity Regulatory Commission DERC chairman. This, despite their erroneous decision to give powers of transfer posting of IAS and IPS officers to the current corrupt and errant Chief Minister of Delhi. Be it the Supreme Court's laggardly approach to the Delhi Shaheen Bagh CAA riots or the farmers' protests or the complete absence of response to violence in West Bengal, Rajasthan, Bihar, etc., their unwarranted observations and interventions in matters related to Hindu faith and its expressions have strengthened the contentions in the minds of the public at large that Hindu phobia is systemic to their functioning. Ex-Chief Justice of India Ranjan Gogoi had strongly made a point about the Supreme Court being in the hands of fixers. These fixers have reduced the Supreme Court to a legal machine for providing interim relief to repeat offenders and bail to even the most dangerous elements accused of waging a war against the state. Some red lines or Lakshman Rekhas need to be respected. Our Supreme Court must realize that it can function in the long run only if our republic remains alive and strong. Whether ex-Minister of Law Kiran Rijiju on the extra-constitutional collegium system.
Collegium system is alien to the Indian Constitution. You tell me under which provision the collegium system has been prescribed.
Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar.
The Parliament, in a much needed historic step, passed the 99th Constitutional Amendment Bill, paving way for the National Judicial Commission. There was unprecedented support. The Lok Sabha unanimously voted in its favor, with there being no abstention. This House, too, passed it unanimously with one abstention. Rarely in parliamentary democracy, there has been such massive support to a constitutional legislation. This was culmination of a basic, fundamental parliamentary process. This historic parliamentary mandate was undone by the Supreme Court by a majority of 4:1, finding the same as not being in consonance with the judicially evolved doctrine of basic structure of the Constitution. Honorable members, there is no parallel to such development in democratic history, where a duly legitimized constitutional prescription has been judicially undone. A glaring instance of severe compromise of parliamentary sovereignty and disregard of the mandate of the people, of which this House and the Lok Sabha are custodians. Honorable members, we need to bear in mind that in democratic governance, basic of any basic structure is the prevalence of the primacy of the mandate of the people reflected in the parliament. Parliament is the exclusive and ultimate determinative of the architecture of the constitution.
Or President Draupadi Murmu on the implementation of their orders.
मैं एक छोटी सी गांव में से आई हूँ, वहाँ एक छोटी सी मेंबर में थी अपने वर्डिक्ट लेके आते हैं, मैडम मैं तो केस तो जीत गया, लेकिन मुझे जो मिलना चाहिए, जो जस्टिस मिलना चाहिए मुझे नहीं मिल रहा है, मुझे पता नहीं, बहुत सारे लोगों को पता नहीं। कॉन्टेम्प्ट करने के बाद फिर शुरू से मुझे फिर वही दोहराना पड़ेगा, वही मुझे से फिर 20 साल जाना पड़ेगा। लेकिन अभी मेरे पास जो है मैं जरूर आपके पास भेजूंगी। मुझे लगता है उनको एक्चुअल खुशी मिलना चाहिए, एक्चुअल न्याय मिलना चाहिए। जाएं तो कहाँ जाएं? चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया या सुप्रीम कोर्ट के बाद और कोई तो कोर्ट शायद नहीं है।
A popular movement is building up against the ad hoc nature of functioning of our judiciary in the light of instigatory developments in our nation harmful to our republic, as well as the problem of ever accumulating pendency of cases in the higher courts. This is best showcased in the web series titled Black Justice.
फिर से राम राज्य आ सकता है अगर जुडिशियल सिस्टम अच्छा हो जाए। जो राम राज्य की कल्पना है, धर्म की जय हो, अधर्म का नाश हो, प्राणियों में सद्भावना हो, विश्व का कल्याण हो, मुझे लगता है उसको फिर से जीवित किया सकता है। आपने मुझे बुलाया कपिल जी, मैं आपको धन्यवाद देता हूं और ये फिल्म बनाने के लिए, ये वेब सीरीज बनाने के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता रहता हूं। दीपिका जी लड़ती रहती हैं, इनको देखता रहता हूं। बहन नेहा जी आई हैं, ये अपने गानों से मुझे लगता है बहुत अच्छा आप लिखती हैं और इसी तरीके से कड़वा सच आप लिखते रहिए, कड़वा सच गाते रहिए। लोग आज की डेट में, यंग जनरेशन कड़वा सच सुनना चाहती है। मीठे झूठ ने इस देश में शुगर डायबिटीज पैदा कर दिया। भारत केवल लोग डायबिटीज से नहीं पीड़ित हैं, बल्कि हमारी व्यवस्था को डायबिटीज हो चुका है और उस डायबिटीज को दूर करने के लिए नेहा राठौर जैसी बहनें जो सही बात कह रही हैं, दीपिका जी सही बात कह रही हैं। आप लोग जो है बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं और आपने कक्कड़ साहब आपने बनाया वेब सीरीज, आपको विशेष आभार।
Finally, as India is discovering and transitioning towards its Indic Sanatani origins, it should not be the case that Bharat in the making continues to be hobbled by a derooted higher judiciary.